Yes, Mr. Massey.
There we go. How's it going?
How are you doing, champ?
I'm all good, mate. I'm all good.
Mate, thank you so much for coming on to the Insta Live. It's been an absolute pleasure to host you.
Yeah, no problem at all, mate. No problem. Sorry, I was just sorting the camera out there. It's
yeah, no worry. Listen, it wouldn't be right for you to get TKO'd by the camera. You know what I mean? Imagine that, getting TKO'd in round one by technology. That's just not a good look, Mr. Massey.
I am terrible with technology, mate. I've got to admit.
Yeah, well, listen, working live, it happens. But listen, thank you very much for coming on. This is the Gunman Insta Live. It is one of the biggest boxing channels on Instagram and on social media. For those that do not know this, brother, this is the European and Commonwealth champion, the Cruiserweight King, a top pugilist, 22 wins, 12 KOs, and only 3 defeats. This man has been in with the likes of Richard Riakporhe, Jay Opataya, Isaac Chamberlain, to name a few. This is Jack One Smack Massey.
Thanks for having me on.
Welcome for coming on, big man. Listen, where did you get the name One Smack from? That's where we've got to start. Who came up with that? That's brilliant.
You know what? I think it was from my first professional fight back in 2013, and I think someone just started off the chant. I don't know who started it off. It was someone local, and I think it was one of my workmates, and it just it just took on from there.
Really?
I didn't really like it at the start. I wanted something a bit cooler, but I was like, it just stuck, and then it ended up on Box Rec, and you know how it goes, mate. And yeah, I got stuck with it.
Mate, it is classic. Jack One Smack Massey. Honestly, I hear some good fight names, but that is right up there, my friend. Yeah, now, listen, you've been in with the likes of Jay Opataya, Chamberlain, Joseph Parker, Richard Riakporhe. Who is the hardest brother that you've fought?
I'm going to say Opataya. Opataya's, he's something special. I'd say the two biggest fighters is obviously Parker. Moving up to heavyweight, it was a big difference in punching power, and the weight when he was pushing you around the ring and leaning on you. But Opataya was just, I wouldn't say he could punch as hard, but he was very, very accurate with his punches, which causes a lot of problems. And he's very, very, very clever, and he's very, very fast. He's very fast on his feet, and he's got very fast hands. And yeah, he's just on you. He's on you.
Does he punch the hardest out of the guys you fought? Would you say, or is he just?
It's more. It's kind of different. Any fighters that'll tell you who've gone in with heavyweights and gone in with people their own weight at cruiserweight, there's more of a sting to the lighter guys. It was more of a sting, whereas Parker, you'd be on the other side of the ring, you know what I mean? But with Opataya, it's more like that sting, sort of catch you off guard, knockout power sort of thing.
Yeah, the thing is, he's got good feet for a big guy as well, isn't he? He's very in and out. Yeah. He's deceptively, but we have seen him hurt before. We have seen him hurt and come through adversity, and he clearly is beatable, isn't he?
I can't see anyone beating him in my division at the minute. I really can't see it.
Really? What about that Ramirez who just beat CBS?
I don't think he'll have any trouble whatsoever with him.
Really?
No, I don't think he'll have any trouble. I think it'll be a mid-fight stoppage. Yeah, I just think he's too clever, and he's very good. He's very good. He's elite. And I think the hard thing is not putting other fighters down, not putting himself down, but he's the only sort. We've not seen the best of him, I don't think. I don't think we've seen the best of him, and I think he's one of them fighters where he'll just gradually keep getting better and better and better as you see him go on. You can tell he's still learning. I think the Breeders' fight both fights were big learning fights for him. He's got his experience from them, and I think he's just going to keep getting better and better and better.
That's scary. That's scary words.
Guy gives me nightmares, mate.
Mate, that's giving us nightmares. You know, Halloween was a couple of months ago, my brother. Making everyone sending chills.
I still have nightmares.
So listen, your division is absolutely stacked. It is like stacked like the middle aisle of Sainsbury's. You've got the likes of Richard Riakporhe, Chamberlain, Vidal Riley, as we mentioned, Ramirez, Okoli was in that division, Chris Billam-Smith, yourself. Do you feel that you're a bit overlooked in the division? There's quite big names in there. I mean, a lot of people were backing Chamberlain to beat you, and you beat him quite comfortably. Do you think that maybe you were a little bit overlooked in the division?
I think I was definitely. I think I was overlooked. I think I was a little bit avoided. A little bit avoided. You know, people in the boxing circle knew that I was very dangerous. But before having the European and Commonwealth titles, it was a little bit. The risk reward didn't add up. It was a little bit like, you know, I'm not going to go and fight this guy because he hasn't got any straps. So it's a big risk. It's a big risk fight, and there's not much reward there. So you know, and then you know these beating Chamberlain and going in there with Opeteo, I think people have realised what I'm about now. Even though I lost that last fight, I think, you know, I still believe I'm at world level. So.
Well, listen, like you're European champ, you know, like you're actually above a lot of these fighters. And funny enough, I interviewed Vidal Riley, who I rate highly, you know, and I love what he's doing because he could easily just go on Misfits and just beat everyone up on there, you know, and get paid. But he's an influencer trying to win a world title. And he actually said when the fight was made between you and Chamberlain, he said, "Oh, Massey's gonna win that." He said straight up to me, "No, Massey's got that."
Yeah,
like. And he really backed you and really rated you. But yeah, it's funny that, you know, when you name some of these names come out in the division, your name doesn't come out, which is incredible considering the accolades you've won.
Yeah,
and you're actually above these guys. You're in Saudi.
Yeah, it's a funny one. Like I say, I think the people in the boxing circle, you know, have been professional 11 years now, so people know about me in the boxing circle, whether it's, you know, they've seen me on small shows or sparring or whatever. But yeah, it's just breaking through to the sort of casual fan sort of side of it. But you know, we're getting there. People are getting more and more recognised. And
bit of showboating, maybe.
What's that?
Bit of showboating. Chuck a bit of showboating in there. You know what I mean?
I don't know. It's not me, mate. It's not me.
I mean, like, if you start moonwalking around the ring and, you know, swinging the arm around a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, that catches a bit of attention. You see what Ben Whitaker's doing?
No,
it's not you, though, man. You're straight in and down to business, aren't you?
The thing is, Opeteo, I like Opeteo. I like his attitude, and he's a perfect example of that. You don't need to do that. Do you know what I mean? And I suppose he's probably been under the radar for quite a few years until he steps up and, you know, he beat Breeders twice and everyone, you know, sort of looked over and thought, you know, who is this guy? And then he's building his character now. He's sort of this no nonsense, no shit talking, just getting there, fight sort of guy. And people love it. And I'm like a little bit.
Yeah,
just getting in there and letting your hands fly. That's what it's about at the end of the day. I know people like seeing, you know, press conferences going off and people chatting shit and that, but we had a bit of that on the Chamberlain fight, but you know, I think he did most of that. Yeah,
listen, the Chamberlain fight really put you on the map, I think, with more of the casuals, though. You know, the people that know boxing know that you're the real, you know, you're a good fighter. People know that you're a pugilist. People know that you're dangerous. But as you said, you know, just expanding your audience, that Chamberlain's fight certainly helped that. A lot of people had that brother down as favourite. I was at that fight at Selhurst Park. I think he won fairly comfortable. I think the scorecards were about right, sort of 4 or 5 rounds. It was tight fights. Was that fight easier than you expected it to be?
No, I knew as soon as I took it. I took it on. It was quite short notice. It was only about 6 weeks. But I was fit and ready today, but I took it straight away, and I just knew I beat him, and I just knew.
Why? Is there something that you saw in his style or the way he fights, or?
Yeah, pretty much. And I don't know. It's hard to say. I just knew. I just knew in the back of my mind that it's not one of those. Every fight you've got to be confident. Like the Parker fight, the potato fight, I was very, very confident, thinking I was going to beat him. It was more than that. There was just something in my mind that I knew I was going to get in there and beat him. Yeah, I just didn't think he was that special. I think people have bought into his character a little bit more than his boxing. Yeah, I just and style wise, you know, if you're gonna come and try and have a dog fight, it's not going to play in your favour with me.
Again, Vidal Riley, same interview. He said to me, Chamberlain always gets his game plan wrong, and I definitely feel that was the case in the Bilham Smith fight, where he was having a lot of joy at range, and then he just went into a dog fight in the guy's backyard in Bournemouth, and he went in a dog fight, and it just didn't suit him. Do you think he got the game plan wrong against you as well?
I just think I think with some people you can have a game plan going in there, but when you're in the fight and you're going through all the emotions and the lights and the cameras are on you and your nerves are running high and you're going through them emotions, people just tend to revert back to type, and it's almost like a bit of a coping mechanism. They fight how it's a bit of what do you call it? A bit of a fair fighting sort of way of talking. If I'm making sense, it's a bit like so he reverted back to type, and you know he probably wasn't listening to the instructions. What he was supposed to do, he was just getting a bit too emotional in there.
Yeah,
and sometimes he can take over some fighters.
But that's like lower level stuff. You know, you get punched in the face and you want to get back. You know what I mean? That's what happens when you start, doesn't it? You know, you get punched in the face. But I'm not having that.
True. But you've got to do it. You've got to do it smart. You've got to do it the smart way and not just bullying and let your hands go. And that's where you make mistakes and get picked off. Yeah.
He's a talented fighter, and as I said, you've also, your losses have been to like Riakporhe, obviously Jai Opataya. And you've only lost to Joseph Parker, so you've only lost to like real quality. What's next for you now, though? Now you've just lost out in Saudi, but you've come out with so much credit, I must add.
Yeah,
so much credit, because you had the heart of a lion. You were a huge underdog. You've got to Saudi, where a lot of fighters are craving to be, and you've come out now, and the world's your oyster. Who do you want to fight next?
I think we're going to get a fight in March, April. I think there's going to be a Sky card around that time. We'll get on that, get a win, and then I want the Bilham Smith fight. That's the fight we want. I'd love that fight. It's when we're going back to talking about Chamberlain, I just know I can. I've got his number. I just know I can beat him. It's one of those fights. We met in the ABA finals. That was many years ago now. It was a great fight. We've both come on leaps and bounds. We're both totally different fighters now, but I think it'll make a great fight again.
Yeah, that'd be exciting. That's a great move for you. Would you rematch Chamberlain? Or do you think it doesn't need a rematch?
I don't know. I wouldn't rematch Chamberlain because it wasn't like it was close. It was a great fight, but it wasn't really close. Who
wins out of Vidal, Riley and Chamberlain? I'm going to the press conference on Wednesday, funny enough.
It's a tough one for me. It's a tough one because I've not seen much of Vidal. I'm not gonna lie. But talking rematches, I would say the Riakporhe rematch if that came to me.
Yeah,
that's a fight I'd like to, because I know I beat him the first time. I feel like I've come on 10 times more than he has since that fight, and I think showing him when Bilham Smith beat him, he seems to, no disrespect to him, he's a nice guy and everything. I say hello to him when I see him, but I just don't think he's progressed much.
Because he fought on the same card. That was on the same card as you and Chambo, I thought that fight was really poor. Just speaking as a fan. it wasn't the fight we was expecting as fans.
Yeah.
You know, like it wasn't a great fight. It was really ugly, and a lot of fans came out of that saying, "Riakporhe, he had his chance. This was his chance, and he didn't take it. He didn't let his hands go, and he didn't take it." Did you see it the same way?
I saw it the same way. Yeah, I just think he's not really progressed. He fights the same as he did, 4 or 5 years ago. And the guy can whack, the guy can bang, and I don't know if it's his corner or, like I say, people when them emotions take over in the ring, emotions taking over, and you're not doing what you should be doing, what your corner's advising. I don't know, but it's one of them, because he has. You look at him, he's got potential to be good, but I mean he is good. I'm not saying he's not good, but I think he'd have the potential to beat Bill and Smith, but he just didn't capitalise on it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I keep coming back to the Chamberlain fight. I keep coming back to this, and he's probably not going to thank me for this, but the build-up was quite spicy. Like there's a couple of rules in boxing, I think, like in weigh-ins, right? You don't spit on man, right? You don't cuss man's mum, and you do not touch man's face. and he touched your face, and you reacted. Do you know what I mean? You can't have none of those three things.
I reacted.
And you guys were head to head, butting each other. He slapped you in the face. He sort of slapped him back. Was it all fun and games, or was there more beef than a lamb tikka masala?
Do you know what? I think there was a bit of beef there. People might think it's to build the fight up, but I think just his character was just a bit annoying at the time, and to be honest, it was pissing me off a little bit.
Was he?
But that's not. I don't like. It doesn't get to me. It was just like I was just thinking, man, I'd wait till I get you in that ring.
Yeah.
It was just like, this is going to be a lot worse for you now.
Did you see any weakness in that bit? Like when he was laughing and you were kind of up in his face?
A little bit, yeah.
Did that see was that not a little thing like, oh, he doesn't really fancy this? Or?
Yeah, to be honest, when I've gone head to head, it's sometimes you do see it in people's eyes, and I just saw something in his eyes where it was as if he didn't really want to be looking at me, and he wouldn't really look me in the eye when we was on the stage and going head to head. And I think, when I did slap him, and he was telling me to come at him, and he was looking at the ground like that, and he wouldn't look at me, and I thought, I think this guy's doing all this because he's a little bit fearful. He's a little bit nervous. I think that's just his way of, a bit of bravado to try and trick himself into thinking that he's confident for this fight.
Yeah, no, I understand. I've got to quickly go on to a Coley. Obviously, he's in the division. He's moved up. He turns up in heavyweight, 3 stone heavier. How do you think he's going to fare in the heavyweight division?
I think he's going to do really well, to be honest. I'm not just saying that because he's a teammate. We're in the same gym. But I think from what I didn't know until he come to our gym, and when he was a cruiserweight, I didn't realise how much he was struggling at cruiserweight. And he has got that stature to carry that weight. It's not like he's ballooned up and he's turned into an Andy Ruiz or whatever. He's got the frame. Do you know what I mean? He's got the frame to carry it, and he's got the big long leaves. He's tall enough. Yeah. And it's not like a small cruiserweight jumping up to heavyweight like myself when I had a go at it.
But I do agree on the Riakporhe fight that. So I'm moving a bit away, but I do think that you could have won that fight really, and perhaps should have won that fight, the Riakporhe fight. Yeah. So it's definitely cruiserweight's where you need to be. I think heavyweight's just a bit too meaty for you, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's something we can look at, towards the back end of my career. Yeah. Maybe pump a bit of iron or whatever. But the big guys, mate, and to look at Parker's probably one of the smaller guys in the heavyweight division, and he's a big old lump, and it's not just the punching power. It's when they're pushing you around the ring and they're leaning on you on the ropes. And I can remember sparring with him a year before over at Morecambe, and he got me on the ropes, and he leant on me on the ropes, and I leant back on the top rope like that. I thought, fucking hell, he's going to break me back in a minute.
The thing is, right, there was a little phase where the small heavyweights like were king. You know, you saw like David Haye go up and do quite well. Did okay.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson, obviously a tiny 5'11", you know, heavyweight, knocking down his big pole axe, you know, these big giants. And then came that era when Klitschko came and just dominated. And it was all about the big heavyweight. And Lennox Lewis came, and Fury came, and then they're all 6 foot, blooming 6 and 6'7", and it's a norm. And then little man Usyk comes along, and he's just ripped it back up again. And the small heavyweights are showing that speed and accuracy.
You've got to be very, very special. You know, you've got to be, you know, like Usyk. He's elite, isn't he? He's gone up and done it. But I think if you are going to move up from cruiserweight, you've got to be looking at, you know, 16 stone plus. You've got to be carrying that weight, otherwise you're just going to get bullied around the ring. But Usyk, he's put a bit more weight on now, and he's looking good, and he's carrying it well, and he's very good.
Oh yeah, he's a man. What does he need to do to be even in the same breath as the greats? Like, people talk about great heavyweights. They talk Ali, they talk Tyson, they talk Lennox, but no one talks Usyk. What does he need to do? He's beaten AJ twice. I was at one of those fights. He's beaten Fury twice. He's beaten Dubois. Is there anything he can do to be mentioned as a great?
Well, I think he should, because he's beaten everyone in our sort of era, in this era, who's put in front of him. So he's beaten everyone who's putting in front of him. Do you know what I mean? Does
he need to be involved in a classic? I think Ali's been involved in.
I think in 10, 20 years, it'll become more recognised as a great. I think at the time, because he's still fighting now, it's when people retire and you look back at these old fights, and and sometimes characters, you know, people get a lot of praise for the characters in boxing, you know, not necessarily for the actual boxing. And he is a character, but he's no Ali or Tyson, is he? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and also I think if you're involved in a classic fight, like Ali's been in Rumble in the Jungle, and it'd be talked about, you know, he was underdog. You know what I mean? People thought he was going to get goddamn killed, let alone win. You know what I mean? So he's got that. You almost need that. Usyk's almost, when you're too good, you don't get reckoned. Look at Andre Ward, great example. He's too good, so he's never really been like in these humdingers, or, you know. And I think that affects some of those great fighters, that they can't. You know, Usyk almost needs to be in a classic fight where he's down 3 times and gets back up and wins. And oh my goodness, that's a fight for the ages, and now we'll remember him. You know, but
bit of a rocky story, but he's, like I say, he's beating everyone what's in front of him. He can't do any more unless he sticks around and waits for the younger up and coming, you know, guys to come up. And you know, it's you know, who else is out there?
Joe Gallagher is your coach. How important is a top-class coach? This brother has coached the likes of Scott Quigg, you know, Callum Smith, Anthony Million Dollar Crawler. What for a fan listening in? What's the difference a top-class coach makes, and what difference does he make to you?
It's very, very important. It's you need someone in that corner what's going to see stuff what necessarily other people aren't going to see. You know, Joe's been around the game a long, long time. He's very, very experienced. He's seen a lot of high-level fights, and Joe just knows everything about boxing. So you need someone in your corner when you're going back after the round that's, you know, going to be able to pick up on these little things what you might not be picking up on, and give you the right advice and the right instructions.
Well, we'll just quickly come onto the stable, and then before we wrap up. But like, so in that camp, are you mainly sparring up in Manchester?
Mostly, yeah.
Who is the biggest? I'm going to put you on the spot. Who is the biggest puncher in that gym? Have that.
It's either me or Colby, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's got that one now. Now he's moved up.
You have to say that now, don't you? Because he's 3 stone heavier than you.
There's some lighter guys what can whack. Obviously pound for pound for their weight. There's some big punches in the gym. There's some good talents as well. Yeah. Very good talents coming up, and you got little Mikey Talent. He can whack. Josh Holmes, Billy Denise. It's there's a few.
Yeah, it's a good little stable. Who's the hardest sparring partner? Who gives you the most grief?
Do you know what? Whatever or at the minute.
In that stable.
Cole is horrible to spar. Yeah. He's just got big long arms. He's just like when you play fight with your dad when he was younger, he just holds you on the other. Not today.
That's absolutely brilliant. What's the worst part of training? What part of training do you hate?
Oh, I hate running. Hate running.
Find me a man who likes hill sprinting, and I'll call him a sick fuck.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind sprints.
Oh, really?
I don't mind sprints. Yeah, because anything over 100 meters, I'm
yeah,
I've beat them all. 100 meters, I beat them all. I'm explosive, so I had a few lads in the gym test me. Billy, he tested me. He's an explosive guy as well, and he offered me a race, and I blitzed him.
Oh, really? I never had you down as being lightning quick over.
I know. I can shift when I get going, but anything over that, I'm fucked.
Yeah, I can absolutely imagine. No one likes. So you don't mind hill sprinting?
I don't mind hill sprints. No.
You're a madman. You're an absolute madman.
The long distances. I just get bored. I get bored easy.
Madman.
That's the problem with me.
Madman.
Must have a bit of ADHD or something.
Yeah. You got to be crazy. What's if you wasn't a boxer, what would you be?
I don't know. Probably working in a factory where my dad is.
It's a good job you're good at punching people's heads in.
I don't know what I wanted to get into because I started boxing quite young, and it was one of them I always wanted to do it.
Would you say? Have you thought about life after boxing?
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to train, in up and coming kids, and train the young uns, the up and coming ones, and have a gym of my own someday.
Would you fight?
I help out in the gym. One of my mates has got a gym not far from me, and I help out, train the kids, and do the adults class sometimes. But it's I love training the kids because they're like sponges. They're like, you'll tell them something, and you can see progression. Sometimes the adults it doesn't really go in, but with kids they're just like sponges. You tell them to do something, and you can just see that progression over the weeks and weeks, and watch them get better and better. Quite enjoy that.
When do you think you'll actually stop boxing? Have you got it in your mind? I mean, you're 31.
31, yeah. Depends how well I'm doing. If I stop doing well, then I'll retire. But it's we want another crack at the world title.
Yeah. So you don't think we'll see you fighting Jake Paul's son when you're 60?
You won't see me, mate. I'll be off. No chance.
Hey, for 30 milli, you'll be there.
Maybe.
You'll be
see
there.
A question there. Someone says, "What did Jack think of the tower reflection?" But I think that was the right decision.
Yeah,
it was the right decision. Definitely. It was. A lot of people have asked me about it, but I had a cut above my eye there. It's healed up quite nice actually, but it's the first time I've had a cut above my eye, and I had blood. It was the 5th, I think it was the mid-5th, and it was a clash of heads, to be honest.
Yeah.
And there's no excuses, but it happens. But I couldn't see out of that eye, and I've never had it before. I've heard of people talk about blood in the eye, but it's not like you can see red. It's like someone's just put like a clear film over your eye and just just couldn't see anything. And I tried not to make it obvious. I didn't want to wipe it. And I got in the clinch and I was trying to like rub it on his shoulder, and his corner picked up on it. And they were telling to throw the lead hand over the top there. And I thought, oh, bastards, have got onto it here.
Oh, really?
So after it, went back to the corner and Joe said, can you see out of that eye? I said, I'm struggling. He said, right, I'm pulling you out. I went, nah, fuck off. I said, you're not. He said, you're not. He said, well, go out next round, show me what you've got. And then, obviously, round he's...
but it was the right decision, right?
Up, yeah. Opportunity, he stepped it up in the sixth round, and he's... and the towel went in, so it was the right decision. You know, I'm too tough for my own good sometimes. I could have stayed in there. Yeah. Took a lot of punishment. Oh yeah,
and, you would have done as well.
You know, in the boxing game, it's sometimes you take too much punishment. It's not good. So,
well, we've got some lovely fan comments in here. We've got Laura Cyclone Kelly, seen Jack Sparse, some beast, so big man, trained beside him for a while, absolute animal.
Yeah,
we've also got we've got Warren Bradley. Will Opataya move up to heavyweight? Do you think he should move up to heavyweight? He's too good for the cruisers. Go test himself.
I think he should do what you said did. I think he should get, which he will. I think he should get all the belts, and then I think he should move up. Look to move up, gradually. I don't think he should go straight into a big fight with Usyk. I think he should just find his way first, like you said, did fight. Your Tresors and work way up.
Work your way up.
Yeah, so I think he's talked about it, to be honest. So that'll be good to watch.
That'd be absolutely interesting. Very lastly, what did you make of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson? Was it an absolute diabolical shambles, or was it good for the game?
I didn't watch it, mate.
You've answered that question perfectly.
I didn't watch it. No. Do you know what I think? I think with these sort of misfits and all that, it was big at the beginning, and I think it's dropping. I'm hearing less and less and less about it now, and it's
Does it bother you as a proper fighter? Like, you're a proper fighter, and if I chucked you on the misfits card next week in Manchester, you could take on the whole roster probably in one night. You could probably knock them all out. Like, does it annoy you though when you see guys just getting a payday, guys that can't fight but they've got a blue tick and followers, and they're getting paid hard, whilst professional fighters are struggling to earn their keep?
Yeah, definitely. It's like myself. A lot of other fighters have come up the hard road, and you're earning nothing in the start of your career, and you're just hoping. Boxing's a very, very funny game. You can have these hopes and dreams in mind, and you can be, fight for nothing. You can have 10 fights, 12, 15 fights for nothing, hoping that you get to these big not and sometimes you never get there. You get beat a few times and it doesn't happen. Your dreams are over, and it's a tough road, and it's not a game to be played, and I think it's a bit of a piss take, to be honest, but it is what it is.
We've got two cracking questions from Newton Heath Athletic. Brilliant fighter, Jack. Big up Manchester. He's saying, "Who's next for you, mate?" We kind of answered that earlier. You'd like Chris Billam-Smith.
Billam-Smith, yeah.
Sorry to answer that for him, but he did mention it earlier. But the other one's a really cracker. How far do you think your mate Billy Dennis could go? World level, European, or British?
I think he can go all the way if he listens. No, I think he can. He can go all the way. He's doing well. He's fighting this Saturday at Sheffield. I'm going to go down to watch that on the.
Are you going to that? Are you?
Yes, I'll be there, mate. Yeah.
Oh, I think I'm going to be there as well. Actually,
looking forward to watching Callum Simpson as well.
Callum Simpson. Yeah, I should be there as well. Yeah. Actually, that's going to be a cracker.
Yeah, that's
going to be a cracker. Outside of yourself, who in the boxing scene who's your favourite fighter now? Who, like, when they're fighting you have to tune in and watch?
Got to say Canelo. I just love Canelo's style. He can do it all, can't he? He's slick. He can box. His head movement. He can punch. I just love his style. Biggest fight. Do you know what? There's a fight I really want to see, and that's. I know they've both lost to Usyk, but I want to see Joshua and Fury.
Yeah, that'd be good. Who do you think wins that?
I'm gonna say Fury.
Yeah, I think Fury. But funny enough, everyone has swayed to
AJ. Which Joshua turns up and which Fury turns up, because he can be a bit. He's up and down, isn't he? But yeah, it's if they're both on their A game, I think Fury.
Couple of other fantasy fights, just to give you a prediction lastly before we go. Conor Benn or Eubank Jr., who wins?
It's a tough one. I'm going to say Eubank.
Size will matter.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. What about Shakur Stevenson versus Tank? If that was to happen, who would you go for?
It's a tough one. I like Tank. I do like him. It is a tough one. I'm going to go Tank. I like his style. I'm not sure on his new hairstyle, but I like his style.
Yeah, what's all that about? Oh, God, what's going on there? So you're going to go Tank?
I'm going to go Tank, yeah.
Canelo versus Crawford.
No. I've got to go Canelo. He's my favourite.
He's your boy, and he's your boy. I think size is also going to be important in that one. But I'd like to see Canelo fight Benavidez, personally. Yeah. That's a fight I'd love to see. But Mr. Massey, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I really appreciate you giving us some time. What I wanted to ask is, have you got a final message just for the fight fans, for your fans, that you'd like to tell them?
Yeah, definitely. We'll be back out March time. You know, we're going to get back up to that level, and you're going to see me back at world level again. That's where we're heading. So keep tuned. Follow me on Instagram, and looking forward to another big year. Yeah, listen, you're a fantastic fighter, very underrated, a superb pugilist, but even better gentleman. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing some time with us. Hopefully, I bump into you at the Callum Simpson fight. You'll see me with my gunman gear on in the media section. Take care, my brother. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, my G. Cheers, guys.